take the department head's recommendations and, you know, get some of the salaries up where they needed to be and everything. So it takes some effort to keep those employees, but we've got a lot of long-term employees that have worked with us for a long time. But other than police, not a lot of turnover.
They're buying new fire truck. That took quite a bit. Get that done. I don't know the status of your particular equipment. They spend a lot of time talking about their fire truck, who they would actually buy it from. It sounds like to me, I mean, I took lots of notes, but it sounds like to me you all are doing really well.
Well, thank you. Well, you mentioned fire trucks. We had to buy a new fire truck. How long has it been now? 2 years ago or 1 year ago, Mayor?
2.5.
About 2.5 years ago, the fire truck we had was almost 50 years old, and we couldn't buy parts for it anymore, even though it was in pretty good shape. And so, so a lot of our capital improvement plan, some of it's projects, a lot of it, we've got drainage projects in there that need to be taken care of, things like that. And then a lot of it is, just equipment, keeping our trucks and our police cars and dump trucks and everything like that on the road.
But thank you, I didn't.
Well, we appreciate you coming tonight. Mr. Larry McKnight.
Yes, sir.
I know this is gonna be good.
I just come in early on, right as the mayor was talking about the new lake and the other lakes and the vision for the county. And I've, if you've driven anywhere around in the county, there's rooftops where there was only fields. I mean, it's amazing at the building that is going on, which is greatly needed in this community to grow the industries and the businesses. One question or concern that I would have, and I think a lot of people have, is the water situation for the future. I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, that Duck River would become a imminent problem in 2030 or 2035 or something like that. And with all the rooftops and everything that are coming up, are there any studies being made to determine what we, since Lewisburg is the central figure for all the water outlets, I think, for Cornersville, Chapel Hill, and all around. So is that a concern that is being addressed with the city as far as the projection of how we're going to work that to make sure that we have plenty of water in the
Yes, that's a great question, because it is a concern, and the Lewisburg Water Department, along with Chapel Hill and the county in Cornersville, they have a firm out of Washington, D.C., O'Brien and Gear, and they are in the process of doing a very broad study looking at what our future needs are going to be, looking at what our capacity and capabilities are right now, and where do we need to go in the future, how are we going to support the growth, how are we going to keep a good water supply of the people that are already here. And that study is well underway, and they're already getting some preliminary reports and everything, and you should be seeing more information from that study coming, pretty soon, to let us know where's the water going to come from, do we have enough water to begin with, how do we get it from where it is now to where it needs to be. So yeah, that's a big study that's going on right now.
Well, will that also, are there any plans for where new water lines will be?
Yeah, I mean, because what they're going to be looking at is looking at growth patterns and where we think that the new subdivisions, where the next area for people to move in, and they're going to be setting priorities on, where do we need to be looking in the future, not only to keep the water supply to the people that are online right now, but where are the next subdivisions, where's the next development going to go? And of course, not only do we have the residents and stuff, but we have, what do we have, Greg? You're going to talk about like 51 industries here now?
Oh yeah, well over 50.
Yeah, well over 50 industries, and there's more coming. There's ones that have announced they're coming, they're making plans. They're all going to need water too. So just to support individuals along with the industry, that is a concern. But like a lot of other things, we're trying to get out ahead of it so that we don't get blindsided, wake up one morning and find out, hey, I don't have any water pressure. I can't take a bath but once a week. We're we're trying to stay away from that, but that's a good question. Yeah, we are working hard on
Thank you.
that. Anybody else? Greg? Uncle Greg? It's all yours.
Right. Go over a little bit of data. You may realize this already if you've been around, but we've done a pretty good job the last 8 years in industrial recruitment and existing industry expansion. In January of 2010, our unemployment rate was 20.7%. We hit 2.5% in May of this year. We haven't even come close to 4% this entire year, going back to the midway of 2016. We've been top 10 lowest unemployment rate in the state twice this year already. There we are. As of August, we were number 10 for lowest unemployment rate in the state. So we've had success bringing in industry. As a matter of fact, I'm out of buildings essentially to market to new industry. I have some greenfield space. I've got a Select Tennessee site, but I don't really have any structures left. There are a couple that we are marketing, but as far as good structures left. But when you're at under 3% unemployment, that's also a huge issue in recruiting new industry in. And so workforce development is critical issue number one. Representative Tillis, you've heard this everywhere all over the state you've gone, right? So let's look at our labor shed. This is what I show at prospective industries when they're talking about labor pool. What's the labor pool or the labor shed, labor force in your region? We have over 419,000 in our labor shed because, believe it or not, Davidson County is really in our labor shed. Now, as you and I both know, we send more to Davidson County to work than come here to work from Davidson County, obviously, right? Same thing with Williamson County and Rutherford County. We send more to those counties than come our way. But if you look at Bedford, Lincoln, Murray, Giles, especially Lawrence, and you look at those counties, we actually probably get more from those counties than we send out by a couple of hundred, give or take, either way. Because that's more of the manufacturing workforce that we share. Which sounds like a lot of people when I'm showing it to people, but if you look at the average unemployment rate of all those counties combined, it's 3.5%. I think the argument, Larry, would be made that 4% is full employment. Some people have stated that. So we've been under what is considered full employment for a good portion of 2016 and all of 2017 to this point. So that is the critical issue facing us is workforce development. So what are we doing there? Well, it's all about education, right? And our school system does a really good job of this. We have a high school graduation rate of 95%. And a college going rate of 65%. Now, of that 65% college going rate, some of those people are going to the TCATs, TCAT Pulaski or TCAT Shelbyville. Also good because they're getting what I consider more manufacturing related skills. And we really need those since we're a manufacturing-based economic society here in Marshall County, right? So, but what that's also telling me is that 35% don't have a plan post-high school. So what do? We need to get to that 35% and make sure they don't graduate without understanding that there are good careers available to them here in Marshall County if they just do a little bit of training or a little bit of post-secondary education. And so the Pathways program we've created, I'll talk about a little bit later, is something that we just started implementing this year. We're going to do it in the entire South Central Tennessee region because I showed you before, we're sharing a workforce with all those counties around us. So we need them to be singing off the same hymnal as us. So when we do market ourselves to prospective industries coming in, I can say not only in Marshall County are we training kids up to be manufacturing based, but we're doing it in our entire labor shed. And here's the Pathways program. This are a couple of representatives from CalSonic. What I did was I said, look, industries have a hard time putting down the widget to spend on marketing themselves and their careers to kids and other people. Our school system is mandated to teach 2 + 2 = 4, and they have a hard time opening up their doors to let industry come in and market themselves to the kids in the school system. That was the tough thing. But education is there and ready and prepared to help industry market themselves, and industry knows it has to market themselves in their careers to get new workers to come in, right? But they were having that issue. So I went to the principals at the beginning of, well, actually over the summer, they had a principals meeting, and I said, do me a favor, when you're looking at your 2017-2018 school calendar, find gaps, find spots, find times available in your school calendar when I can fill with industries coming in to speak to as many of your students as possible. from the elementary level all the way up to the high school level. Some of you say, why the elementary school students? What are they going to know about Calsonic making dashboards? I understand. But what we need to do is get them acquainted early at the elementary school that those things exist and those type of careers exist, so that we get them again in middle school, and Calsonic comes back in middle school and really starts talking about what a production supervisor makes and what a production supervisor does and the need for a robotics technician. Then they'll have some idea of what we're talking about, because Calsonic would have been there before to market themselves and their careers. So now we get them in middle school and we say, look, here are the type of careers I have at Calsonic and all the other industries that are taking part. If you like doing this, you'll like these jobs. And these jobs pay you this much, and you will need this level of education or training to acquire those jobs. Because unlike when I was in middle school, middle schoolers today are tasked with knowing a little bit about what their career path is going to be. I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. I can't imagine what it's like for a middle schooler to have to try to decide, not necessarily I want to be a doctor, but that I know my career path is going to take me to college and after college. I'm either going to go the military route, I'm going to go the community college route, or the university or college route, or I'm going to go the vocational center route. That's really the other path. The only other option is no option at all. I graduate high school and do nothing, go into the workforce. So there are 4 pathways. We want to make sure they're making the best informed decision when they're getting off on those pathways before they enter high school. And then especially after they get into high school, then they can start marketing internships, apprenticeships, summer jobs, part-time jobs after school, things to get them inside of the factories where they'll know exactly what it's like to be a production supervisor at Calsonic. Then they'll know exactly what it's like to come in every day and work in one of those things. And then they can decide, yeah, I was right, this is what I want to do. Or this is not for me, and maybe I need to do something else. Both things are valuable things to learn, right? The company needs that to happen just as well as the student needs that to happen. So we've got, starting this year, I've had, I'm going to say 7 or 8 of my industries have gone into elementary, middle school, and high school classes or auditoriums or gyms throughout this school year, and we're going to continue to do it for the remainder of the school year until we develop a strong, informed pipeline of young people. That 35%, when we see that college going rate, we want it to go up, obviously. But that 35%, they will have a plan. We will make sure they have a plan. That plan may be walking off the stage with their high school diploma and into Calsonic the next day on Monday to start a full-time job somewhere. That's fine. That's a plan. Calsonic needs that person, and that person needs a job and a plan afterwards. You don't have to stay at an entry-level position. That's the other thing we're teaching. You don't have to stay at $10 an hour positions. If you go in, you act right, you work well with others, you show up every day, and you do what you're supposed to do, lo and behold, you can move up in that company to the $15 an hour job. That's what we're teaching them today with the Pathways program. Probably the most important thing we're doing right now, to be honest. Tourism. Born and raised here, like a lot of you probably were, and you don't think of tourism a lot. You think, what? We don't have any tourist attractions here. $22 million were spent, tourism dollars were spent in Marshall County in 2016, as collected by the state of Tennessee. That's a lot of money, and it does a lot of things. So what we did was we got ourselves a grant to develop a tourism brochure that we haven't had in a long time. We haven't had one of these in a long time. Take one before you go. There are things here, ladies and gentlemen. There are things in Marshall County to do that people from other counties, Giles, might want to come and do sometimes and spend their money here. It's true. It happens. So we're putting a lot more focus on tourism, small business development, and retail now since our industrial has grown up. Because when we were 20.7% unemployment, if you were making nuclear waste out of human bodies, I would have probably tried to recruit you to put people to work. Right? We were desperate. 1 out of 5 people were unemployed. Now that we're at 3% unemployment on average, now we can branch out and start thinking about those other stools of the economic development table. You know, there's more than one stool to the economic development table. We can start focusing a little more on retail, small business development, community development that Randall was talking. You have no idea how important that is today. Because young people, millennials, if I have to go to another millennial seminar, I think I will just to learn about these millennials. But the one thing they are doing is they're deciding where they want to live first, and they're worried about a job later. So they want a cool place to live, And we can offer that to them. Now, yeah, I'm going to lose 9 times out of 10 to the Gulch in Nashville, right? I mean, they're going to go up there where they can get that cool apartment and have all those bars and restaurants right down below them where they can hang out and have. But believe it or not, there are young people that like a small town atmosphere, that like what we have to offer, like the 5 Mile Greenway, like that we have bike lanes that pretty much connect the entire city together, like that they can hang out on the square at the Purple Elephant like we just were a moments ago for an LDA mixer, like that. Not most of them, but enough of them that live in Williamson, Davidson, and Rutherford County that we can be attractive to those folks. They can bring their young ideas to us and their young money to us and help us grow the way we need to grow. So tourism, retail, those things we're looking at. One of the things we still get to market is our cost of living index. That's how I'm going to lure some of those folks down. Let's be honest. I'm 20% below the national average in the cost of living index. What I've been telling my students when I go into the schools is if you make $50,000 a year in Williamson County and $50,000 a year in Marshall County, you get to spend more of that $50,000 in Marshall County because Williamson County is going to eat up more of it in the cost of living. And they kind of understand that a little bit. But some of the older millennials that we're trying to attract, that can be an attractive thing for us. They know they can sell their home in Williamson County, come down here and buy one just as big, if not bigger, and have no mortgage. Because they can use the money they sold up there and just buy it outright. That's a pretty good sales pitch, right? I think. So we can lure some people down with that. You see the arrows over here, that's building permits, business licenses, population. It's single-digit growth except for the building permits in this last year. But if I shown you this slide last year between 2014 and 2016, we had double-digit shoot-ups in almost everything. That was when this real growth pattern really happened in this county from 2014, 2015, and into 2016. It still continues to grow, but the growth has slowed down. It's kind of leveled off is what I feel like. But if you look at what the trend is across the United States, rural America is drying up and dying. There's a strong push into metros. We're bucking that trend. We are bucking that trend here. So for a rural community to be bucking that trend, that's a big thing for us. That means we're doing something right. I think a lot of something we're doing right is that we're located next to Franklin, Nashville, and Murfreesboro. Let's be honest. I mean, I think that's the one thing somebody did right a long, long time ago, is put us where we are. That's one thing. But we're also doing things, all the things Randall was talking about earlier, those things play into why, we can be attractive to people in those northern counties that all of us, we love Spring Hill and we love all the things about it, but yet you come home here and you come home here for a reason, right? You like living here for a reason and having that amenity next to you. We have something we can market to those folks. Same here, you see the arrows going up. Again, they're in the single-digit range. Last year or the year before, some of that would have been double-digit growth. Some of that would have been double-digit arrows going up. But the point is, all the arrows and all these factors are going up. They're going in the right direction. And they've been going in the right direction starting the end of 2014. We've seen that turn around. And let's be honest again, the national and global economy turned around as well, right? So that was a big factor into it. But we seem to be doing something correct here in the county and in the city to keep those arrows going in the right direction. And this planning that we've been doing, I think, is crucial and key to that. This vision plan and things like that we've got going on. What am I looking at moving forward? Am I going to stop trying to recruit new industry? No. You never put that mantle down. Am I going to stop trying to help existing industry? Well, the Lord, no. That's probably the most important thing in the world, is keep our existing industries happy and successful and thriving. That's going to be key. I'm working on workforce development every day. I'm now a workforce developer. Economic development's a byproduct of workforce development nowadays. That's what's really going on. But I've been given some time to work on these 4 factors. A little more retail, this livability piece, making this a quality place to live, the zoning overlays, the bike lanes, the greenways, the new retail, the home subdivision regulations. All these things are livability. We're now in a pilot program from TVA for community livability. We got chosen because TVA recognizes we know how to do things. And so they've allowed us to be a pilot program for community livability. My goal or hope is we're going to get designated a gold level community livability community place when we get through the end of that process that we're going through. Branding. Marketing has come back. This tourism thing, We haven't done as much marketing of ourselves out there because, let's be honest, marketing costs money. Print marketing especially costs money. Put an ad on TV and see what that costs you. That is some very expensive things to do when you're trying to market a community. But I got to thinking, got with Randall, and I said, well, if we're going to market ourselves to prospective visitors and tourists and new people to live here, what are we going to market? What is our brand? Again, a homer, born and raised on the square. Been here all my life. I know we've been a walking horse capital. We've been a pencil capital. Now we're known for fainting goats. I don't hate that. I mean, people laugh, but you know how much money got spent last weekend from all 50 states, 5 countries, and 80 counties in Tennessee? Laugh at me. Come spend your money. But who are we? Well, I think we're going to look at bringing in some experts, like we've done with the vision plan. Bring in some branding experts, people that have worked with other communities before, and they're going to grab groups together like we did with the vision plan. They're going to go get educators and finance people and industry people and elected officials and regular Joes, and we're going to have these groups come probably into this room, and they're going to ask them questions, and they're going to draw information out from them, and from that, I hope they can put a word cloud together, for lack of a better term, that tells us what our brand is, at least what we think our brand is, and what's good and marketable. And then I'm going to take that brand and we're going to market it out to Rutherford, Williamson, Davidson, and other places outside of just those 4 states. Because I don't know if you've noticed, but there are a lot of people with different accents that have moved in here recently. I hear Illinois every now and again. I hear Nevada, believe it or not. People have moved here from Nevada. Florida, absolutely. There's been some California movement here. We got people finding us because we're already marketing ourselves on the internet. We did a good job of getting out there on the internet and social media. I've got my Twitter and my Facebook and my Google Plus and my LinkedIn and my Tumblr. Got all those things rocking every day. So we've gotten ourselves out there in the world where we can be found, and we're being found by people, and what they're seeing again is, all right, there's Nashville, there's Huntsville, there's a nice interstate. Here's this small town right in the middle there. Let's see what they're all about. I'd rather live in a small town, but I want to be able to get to an airport. I can get you there in 52 minutes. I love being in a small town, but I need more shopping than probably Lewisburg is going to offer me. What do I got? I can have you in the mall in 35. So we've got a good thing to sell like that if we keep doing this community livability piece. And upgrading our marketing plan starts with finding out our branding. Who are we? So if I were to ask you now, I mean, who are we? What's our brand? Brand's not a logo, keep in mind. Brand's not a logo. Brand is what it makes you feel like. And I'm a little scared to ask that out in public because sometimes I don't like the answer, right? But we're going to find out what our brand is, kind of see who are we going to put out into the world and market to bring more people in here, upgrade our livability, and bring in retail. That's sort of our strategy moving forward now that our, I want to say our industrial thing has been cured. It's not, it's never, it's an ongoing thing. I do have a new company that's probably going to open up the end of November and December that has great plans to hire a lot of people before they're said and done. And think, we've got 55 manufacturers in here in this county already that's hiring a lot of people and doing a good job, but they can't find enough. I don't know if you've driven through the industrial park lately, but those aren't political signs out there saying vote for me. Those are I need people hiring now signs. They look like political signs, but they're not. Read them. It's now hiring. I need people to come in. So that's what we're doing, at least what I'm doing on the economic development level, working with Mike. It's workforce development, either drawing new humans in here to be our workers or conditioning our young humans into being new workers. I know that sounds kind of dry and awful, but that's the truth. That's the truth. I don't need another kid to graduate high school without a plan. We need to make sure that kid has some sort of plan, and that plan may be stacking boxes at Southern Carton. So be it. They'll work up from there. It's a good plan. It's better than having no plan and sitting at home and doing nothing and getting into trouble, right? It's a better plan than that. So that's my plan moving forward. It changes every day. The economy is a living organism, and so is the plan. So I start out with a nice, beautiful plan on Monday, and by the time I get to Friday, I don't even remember what I was talking about on Monday. It changes like that all the time. But we've done a pretty good job of keeping up with that because we've got really good leadership at both the county and city levels, and that's Chapel Hill and Cornersville and Petersburg. I'll throw them in there as well. Really good job of having leadership there because they listen, and even if they don't understand, they make an effort to try to understand. And so I hope you're seeing that. I hope you're feeling that. And if you see something, think something, have an idea, Lord knows you can reach out to us. Tell us what you think. We may say, we thought of that, but we can't do that because. And you may not like that answer, but there's sometimes a reason we haven't done something. Maybe it's something we haven't thought of before. So reach out. Let us know what's going on. That's it for me.
Okay. Folks, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
You haven't mentioned your schools, or in our case, the library. We have a very active library. Where do you all stand in terms of attracting new people into your county based on the schools and the library you currently have?
We have an awesome library. We've got a director that came in probably 2 years ago and brought just a ton of new energy into the library and a ton of new ideas, doing things like having Minecraft. Yeah, but think of how popular and smart that was. Absolutely. Lego nights. They're having an improv theater night coming up at the library. She did a good job of doing what I'm hoping to also do, and that's dive into the young people and make sure you get them acquainted with the library and the services they have to offer. So absolutely, the library is a major part of our growth and economic plan moving forward. And also our school system. I mean, we have an awesome school system. Sometimes it gets a bad rap locally. That happens. I think you probably experienced that over in Giles County. But we have a pretty good school system here in Marshall County. Can't compete with private schools. That's why they're called private schools, and ours are public schools. But as a public school system, we can compete, and they're absolutely at the table. That's what Pathways is all about. So when you're talking about the Pathways program and workforce development being my #1 issue, that puts schools right up there. I'm talking to Jacob Soros, our director of schools, all the time. Lynn Stacy, our CTE director at Spotlow. And I was in LMS today with Comfort Research, where we were talking about making bean bags.
Are your facilities attractive? That's part of the complaints we get.
You talking about
People
schools?
come in schools. People come in, see the schools and say, they don't even check what kind of capability they have in the school. They see the school.
Really?
Is that a problem?
How
old are your schools?
I don't see that as a problem. I really don't. And I think our schools are attractive, but I also think they look like schools. I'm really not sure if someone's needing some strange design. I'm not so sure what that has to do with what's going on the inside.
We all believe that, but you gotta get them there first.
I understand. Priorities of some people over the last 10 years has changed, let's say. And what some people think is important now, we all scratch our heads and go, okay. So,
Back ours didn't even have landscaping, and now all the new schools are architectural
Yeah,
design,
yeah.
landscaped, and everything.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Ours was just brick buildings. So
That's
created
right.
by both.
So yeah, but I haven't heard that, for example, that our schools are unattractive, so that's a straight turn off. What I hear most often is they look at that data. They look at that data. If someone's looking to move into your community, they are looking at that data. What's your high school graduation rate? What's your average ACT score? How much scholarship money did your seniors earn in 2017? Ours last year earned $9 million in scholarship money. For a rural community, I think that's a pretty good one. That's a pretty good one. That's something I can tell to someone who's considering whether to move to Murray County, Williamson County, or Marshall County. They can take a look at that and say, oh, you must be doing something right if you earn $9 million in college scholarships, and that's just one high school. That's only MCHS. That's not counting Chapel Hill or Cornersville. That's not counting those two schools, which would add to that total tremendously. So that's a pretty good selling point. So yes, schools have, on the livability piece, I mean, schools are your partner now. Should have been all along, probably have been really, but they are absolutely your partner now in your economic development plan. If they're not, somebody's messing up.
I got a question for you, millennial man. What are you doing to attract 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds to meetings like this?
Social media is the main thing. I just created a new app called Soundcheck Lewisburg that I'm directing specifically at young people in the Young Professionals group. So far, I've got a thumbs up from the leaders of the Young Professionals Group. So getting them there, though, is not as easy as marketing to them. And in some cases, and this is going to be a knock on those wonderful millennials we all talk about, they like to talk a big game and then don't show up about getting involved. So it is a difficult thing to do. I'm talking in that camera. This is going to be on YouTube later. I'm talking to you. Come to these meetings. They do want to be involved. They talk about wanting to be involved. And in the new app I've created, I've even got a section on how to run for office. It's where to go to the election commission to sign up to run for office. I've got a list of civic groups that they can join that I'll have on there where they can do that. And I've got job directories on there, so if they want to look at what job openings are around in the region. That is, and because you and I both know, if you've seen them lately, this is where they are. They're not here. They're in there. And that's where I got to go get them, right? So that's what I've been doing. I'm trying to get the Young Professionals Group really to do that, because who better to speak than them? Because they're going to look at me and see my bald head and think I'm just an old person who has no idea what I'm talking about.
Also, just as a community person, I agree with your comments about the library. Crazy improvements.
Crazy improvement.
And I go to the library. I used to go to the library a lot, and I stopped going to the library because there weren't those improvements. Now I'm going back to the library again. To the education system, yes, straight up. The stuff that you talk about Lynn Stacy doing, crazy important, because, and I'll use as an example, my own child, who was going to go to Tennessee Tech to be an engineer, is now working, who's a senior this year, is working a co-op program for 9 months with a company in Sparta. And he didn't get it because of his grades. But he got this because he worked out at Walker Die Casting.
Right.
As part of that program where
Right.
Lynn Stacy sends his high school schoolers out, right?
Right.
That's why he got the job. That's why he got this co-op. That's why he's gonna walk out of college with 9 months of experience on his resume and be in great shape. So our schools do a great job. Anytime somebody ever questions our school system, I'll ask them how many Rhodes Scholars and Truman Scholars has yours had last year.
Yeah. Wherever I go, I'm doing a presentation at 9 o'clock in the morning at Waverly. So I need to be in bed already. But one of my quotes, and I give it all the time, is my technology center is better than yours. In the state of Tennessee and maybe in other states, mine's better than yours. Because Lynn is on it. Lynn Stacy is the principal at the Spotlow Technology Center for both the high school and the middle school. He's got the right equipment. He's gone after the right equipment. He's teaching the right classes. He's got top-notch instructors, and he's in there with all the industries around. I think there's 10 to 12 industries that are using work-based learning students after school, or, well, they get that fourth block that they can go and do work-based learning in with the industries. And Lynn has done an outstanding job at that, no question. And so my quote is, mine's just better than yours.
One last kudo for this county. You talked to a business owner, nice industry, growing by leaps and bounds right here in Marshall County. He said, would not be here with Greg Lowe. So kudos to this.
Check is in the mail, dude. Check is in the mail. Well, I hope what comes across is I was born and raised here, and I do love it, and I want it to succeed. Pretty simple. Pretty simple. I don't always like it, but that's what being a homer you get to do, right? You get to hate your sister and call her ugly, but you better not. Right? And so that's sometimes what we do, and what I do as well. But I do want you to know, he mentioned Public Works earlier. We are out there hustling at every level. Mike Wiles will tell you, he works more than Chapel Hill than I do, but I work with Chapel Hill. Mark Graves, town administrator up in Chapel Hill. We have communicated on a couple of projects that didn't work up there, he thought would work here. Rather than just forget about it, do something, he picked up the phone and said, you might ought to talk to these folks. Before, I don't think I can accommodate them in Chapel Hill. That's the kind of thing that not every county has, is that type of inter-municipality love that we kind of have and share. Yeah, I make the joke about Giles County. Since you're here, I'll make the joke. But I want to beat Giles County in football, baseball, basketball, tiddlywinks, tennis, and Monopoly. But when it comes to economic development, when Giles County wins a project, that's a win for us. We get mad, yeah, I wanted it. I'd rather it had moved into Marshall County. But when it goes to Giles County, it's a win for us. Why, you say? Because some of our people are going to end up working there probably more than likely. And if they succeed right next door to us, who's to say that the supplier for that company doesn't then come to us within the next 2 to 3 years? Which is a lot of what happens sometimes as we feed off one another. So I'm drinking the regionalism Kool-Aid as well. About I want to beat Columbia and Shelbyville and Pulaski and Fayetteville in every sport under the sun and twice on Sunday. But when it comes to economic development, we're in it together, and we get that. We get that. All the economic developers in Nose County and we work well together. Yeah, we want to win the one at the very end, but I'd rather it go to Lincoln County than to West Virginia and lose to them, right? If we can't have it. So I just want you to know we're all working together and hustling out there every day. We're working very hard, and I hope you see it. And if not, I've got a lot of data I'd be happy to throw at you. All right, any questions?
Let me say something here, and I wish more people were here, but I think you can see that we have energy. I call him the ever-ready money. But there's energy there and back at the table, and there's energy in our council, and there's focus. And I think that's important going forward. One thing that wasn't mentioned that I think is going to change Lewisburg in the next 10 years more than any other thing, and you have to have vision, but the widening of the bypass from Lyons out to Highway 431, Franklin Road, is going to transform the retail of this city that we cannot imagine sitting here today. But I want you to write it down, that that's going to happen. Why? You know that thing's going to be 5 lanes wide plus bicycle lanes and sidewalks. And where do we have a bunch of empty space? That we have water and sewer, it's there. Having said that, that would not have happened. I'm going to go back to 2 elected officials, to Representative Tillis and Senator Stacy. That project, which is going to cost over $40 million for 2 miles. Remember, we're competing against everybody in the state, Nashville, Memphis, Knoxville. That project was legislated. And if it had not, that means that it doesn't go through the normal channels where you wait in line. It had the legislature led by Mr. Tillis and Mr. Tracy says, this project's going to be built. You're not going to have to wait in line. Very few people know that, but those of us who do really appreciate that we have the heavy hitters that knows Lewisburg and willing to go to bat for us and see that what an impact that's going to be. So I think, as he said, he was born here. If he wasn't, he'd be off somewhere else making $500,000
I don't love y'all that much.
You can't believe how fortunate that we have people that roll up their sleeves and go to work and get the job done, but also listen. So kudos to them, and thank you for being interested enough to come and be here. And I just wish it was 1,000 or 2,000 more. That's all I have to say.
Folks, thank y'all for being here. Before you leave, grab a tourism brochure. If you don't know how to get in touch with me, here's my card. It's got my cell phone number and office number. And please come to the meetings we're talking about. You want a sidewalk on Highland Avenue? Come to the council meetings. Come to those planning meetings. That's the best way to let us know that needs to be done.
You might get sick.